For 6 years, Jessica Adicott struggled to bond with her eldest son. The negative feelings towards her child started during pregnancy, which intensified when she found out she was expecting a boy.
I thought if it's a girl, then I could possibly savour it a little bit. But then I found that he was a boy and it made me feel a lot worse. I then sort of thought maybe it's because I'm pregnant. How can you love something that's not physically here? So I did presume that once the baby was here, it would probably be all okay.
But when Jessica gave birth in Bristol, postnatal depression took hold and she became more unwell.
I couldn't hug him, I couldn't touch him in any way, even his clothes. I couldn't touch his clothes because he had worn them. Cutlery, the cups, anything. If he had touched anything, it was very hard for me to go and touch it. I didn't want to run away until it was quite down the line. That's when I started to feel the suicidal thoughts came in.
So how often did you have suicidal thoughts?
Every day. Yeah.
Thought of suicide every day?
Yeah, it was every day.
Jessica is not alone. In a survey commissioned by ITV West Country and the charity PANDAS, 1,000 women were asked about their experiences, and the results are shocking. In the southwest, more than half of women who'd had a postnatal illness said they'd had suicidal thoughts. In fact, suicide is a leading cause of death for women during pregnancy and 1 year after birth.
Unfortunately, we know that for a lot of women that transition into motherhood can be an incredibly stressful time, and we know that a lot of women at that time, because of that stress, will suffer from suicidal ideas. And I think it makes it reinforces the fact that it's such an important time that they ought to be receiving help at that point.
But sadly, not all women get the help or advice they need. Our survey showed just under 80% of parents felt there isn't enough support, and nearly 40% said they needed to make several visits to a healthcare professional before a diagnosis and assistance.
We know that many women with depression, it's not perinatal depression, it's not recognised either in pregnancy or after their baby's born, and even if it is recognised, they don't often get the right level of care. So no, it doesn't shock me at all that these women are saying the support isn't there.
Tina, who lives in Frome, was diagnosed with postnatal depression after becoming overwhelmed with feelings of failure. It became so bad she gave up her job as a teacher, but it was only by chance she found help.
I happened to stumble across the PANDAS group on Facebook, and then from there and other social media found other websites and places that I could go for, to find other women who were going through the same sort of thing. But if I hadn't have accidentally found that, I wouldn't have known where else to go.
Do you think this is something that needs to change?
Yeah, it's mad that that the information isn't there before it gets too bad, before it gets to a point where you need serious intervention.
Our survey revealed hundreds of similar stories.
After I tried to commit suicide, I never heard from my doctor, no midwife, no one. I just had to get on with normal life again, and it was hard going.
There needs to be more awareness by midwives and health visitors, as when I first flagged it up, they waved it off as baby blues.
The subject as a whole is still very taboo. It needs to be addressed more publicly than it is. It's not failing as a mother or lack of love for your child. It's an illness. People still don't realise this.
Postnatal depression is something years ago that may have been brushed under the carpet and has left people feeling very sad, and it's been so damaging. And I think that now when we talk about it, we need to make it normal. That if you do feel low, down or depressed, that you go and talk to a health visitor, talk to midwives, GPs, and share your feelings.
Jessica, who now lives in Gloucester, says she finally has a bond with her son, but says it's time to break down the hidden pain of giving birth.
Well, with us in the studio is Tilly Mabbott from the charity PANDAS that you heard about in Victoria's report there. Tilly, the results of the survey that we conducted are really quite shocking. First of all, the sheer number of parents suffering from postnatal depression. But secondly, this lack of help. There seems to be a complete vacuum there.
Yeah, absolutely. The statistics are shocking to the wider public. For us as a charity, we speak to parents who are going through this on a daily basis, so we know how devastating these illnesses can be. But clearly, there is issues here with care, and we need to do more about that.
Now, 80% of parents saying that there isn't enough help there. They're looking for help. They don't think there's enough. Surely something is going wrong somewhere.
Yes, absolutely, and these parents are clearly being failed. We know that the provision of care is not universal. Here in the West Country, there are large areas which have little or no provision at all, which just isn't good enough. And as you said in your report, one of the leading causes of maternal death is suicide, and that has to change.
Now, we know that the NHS is under intense pressure. There are lots of lobby groups and charities calling for more money for their particular cause. What do you want to see done? What do you want to see change?
It's twofold. We need more education and more funding, both of which are linked. If healthcare providers and healthcare professionals were given the education to deal and treat parents with these illnesses, the wider the provision of specialist care would be. And also education for parents. I've got here a pack which is given to pregnant women on their first appointment with their midwives. And it's got all sorts of leaflets about immunisations, breastfeeding, which is all wonderful, but at no point does it mention mental health. And
so something as simple as slipping a leaflet inside that pack could make a huge difference.
It really does, because we need to start thinking of talking about mental health at the point of pregnancy and not just at the point of diagnosis. Charities such as ourselves help plug the gap of information, help and support, but we've got a similar issue to the NHS. We've got limited resources, limited funds. So essentially this all comes down to money. Without funding, awareness and education will always be limited.
Now, I know there'll be people at home who will be worried about this. They might be pregnant themselves. What advice can you give to someone who thinks they might be suffering?
I would say talk to your loved ones, and talk every day about how you're feeling. If you start to notice a pattern, then really go and speak to a professional, and don't be afraid of that. One of the most important things as well is to make sure that you're getting time for yourself every day to practice self-care. So even if this is just going for a shower, having something to eat, going for a sleep, these are things that are fundamental to our mental well-being, and often the first things that slip when you have a new baby or you're heavily pregnant. So that is really, really important, and just don't ever be ashamed of telling anybody how you're feeling. Having a pre or postnatal mental illness does not make you a bad parent at all, but it is an illness and you need to get it fixed, the same as you would a broken leg. And it's just really, really important to go and seek that help. And the one thing that I would really say is that it's okay not to be okay.
Okay, Tilly Mabbott from the charity PANDAS, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.